Aaron had kind of pitched it to us as a very easy, simple concept.
Aaron came up with an idea to film this World War II movie super cheap and super quick, and he assured us that it would cost nothing, and we could shoot it in like a week or something like that.
So we wanted to make another movie. Earth, it was kind of this, drama, millennial coming of age story thing that we were really passionate about. We didn't have any money to make it. So I'm like, okay, well, let's do another movie just like the one we had done before. We'll make it super cheap. We'll shoot it over a weekend, and then we'll turn around, we'll sell it, we'll make a bunch of money. We can make the movie that we really want to make.
The previous movie that we made, we actually filmed it almost entirely in a weekend. That movie cost us nothing, so Aaron figured we could do it again.
So it was going to be a simple, like, man on a mission kind of movie. And then, suddenly we were filming or writing something about the Battle of Kasserine Pass, which is a battle that has like 2,000 people in it, on either side, and tanks and Rommel's there. But I guess that didn't stop us, so.
What was supposed to be something that we shoot in a week or two eventually became a 5-year project. Yeah, that was our quick and easy movie. It was 4 years.
Kasserine Pass was, for all intents and purposes, basically America's first war experience, and they got whipped. Really what that means to us is the fact that, like, we weren't going to be the winners here. This wasn't going to be a happy story. We had a lot of conversations about how the story should take shape. So I think as we wrote it, it sort of evolved into like this human being's adventure and descent into, the effects of this kind of horror that you have to experience.
We met someone who had served with the Canadian Armed Forces in Afghanistan. I think he'd done 2 tours over there, and he had come back with severe PTSD. He was kind enough and generous enough to sit down with us and tell us some stories about his experiences in Afghanistan, and then, the aftermath of that here at home, and how hard it was for him to deal with that, and continues to be even now.
Like, we just couldn't believe that an individual could experience this thing and not come home with being completely changed by this.
We wanted Rodich, I guess like the proper term is agoraphobia, where you have anxiety about leaving your house and about your safe zone. That's why he has, the delivery boy who comes by and brings him his groceries. He's holed up and he's become a hermit, which is also the brand of liquor that he drinks.
We sort of had 2 mindsets on shooting this movie. One was we wanted to tell a very human story about it. And I think that's really where especially Aaron was coming from. And for me, I just want to tell a war movie. But I think where we had the common ground was that we both agreed that this individual is going to be forever changed by this, and it's going to forever affect his life.
We really wanted to capture some of those, the psychological element, not like war is messed up, because we all know that, but how does it mess us up?
Whether we try or not, we just do not take the easy way out. And we felt like filming something in a European setting, especially for World War II, was just going to be too easy.
We wanted to do something different. We wanted to show a different part of the war. And Drumheller happens to look a lot like a desert, so we set the movie in North Africa. This
went really quickly from let's do this in a couple of days to the biggest enterprise Rambunxious has ever undertaken.
This is like extreme low budget filmmaking. We don't have a lot of money, but what we do have is time. So I mean, part of that was like, we were building a lot of the things that we were using. We couldn't afford to buy some of the guns, or obviously rent like a German Panzer or Tiger tank or whatever. So we were using miniatures that we were building ourselves, remote control miniatures. So we built our own like M1 Garands that we used for a set of reshoots. The costumes, we ordered from all over the place, trying to get the best deal, different reproduction shops, trying every little way. The amount of time that went into me driving around the city or looking on eBay or whatever, just to, save us a few $100 on costumes. I don't know, it's crazy.
And we knew we were going to basically have an army of our own coming out to Drumheller. We were going to have to find a roof for these people. We were going to have to feed these people. We were going to have to look after these people. And for us, we were always used to either kind of sleeping on location or finding some simple, minimal accommodation. But this time around, we felt like we wanted to sort of take that to the next level as well, which didn't mean we were going to throw people in the lap of luxury. It just meant that for us, as a first time, we rented a couple houses on an acreage. And like I say, we sort of just invaded with our little army. And I think we just felt like, you know what, we can do this. We'll figure it out.
Our audition process is kind of unique in the sense that we give all of our actors who are auditioning the same scene. It's a pretty generic scene.
What's in the box? What's in the box?
What's in the box, Jesse?
What's in the box? Okay, it's your cat. I killed it.
And then they have to improvise a resolution to the scene.
Did you see this?
Yeah. You take the cat.
I don't want it anymore.
Pack the bags that I paid for.
I've been thinking of killing Snagglepuss myself.
I think we did a really good job of casting this movie.
Scheiße auf ihn. Der Bastard verdammt, mir sehr leben.
We felt that it was important to actually have German spoken in the movie, and we didn't know German, so we wrote the dialogue just in English, and then we have a friend who lives in Germany and is from Germany, and we sent him those lines, and he would record himself speaking them, and then the guys that we got to speak the German lines, they don't know German at all either, so they just learn phonetically how to say them. But we thought that it was important to have the German dialogue and to not have any subtitles, because we felt that if Radic doesn't know German, then the audience shouldn't know either. We wanted to be in Radic's head the entire time.
It's easy to let yourself, as you're writing, run away without thinking about what you're actually able to accomplish. And so we get to the location of the battle, and we know that, like, okay, we have to follow a certain kind of historical accuracy here. We had to set up a battle line for the Americans. And part of that process was digging slit trenches. We needed to know what slit trenches were, and we needed to make that happen. And then my character was partnered up with another character my character's sort of like a bit of a gruffer guy, and then I have sort of the young guy with me. While takes are going on a little bit away from us and we're hanging out in the trench, we start talking, and I find out that both of our grandfathers were old buddies. I'm sort of really drove home the whole war experience, where it's like you have this stranger that is sitting with you, going through this with you, and you find out that you have not just something in common, but you have almost like, almost to the extent of like family in common. But at the same time, it was a huge challenge. And I remember the first day on location, I remember looking around at everybody and being excited, and people were gearing up to get their little weapon lessons. But the first thing I noticed was that we were all too clean. So I grabbed Kevin and we walked over and started throwing dirt on each other just to sort of make it a little more real. And that I think was probably one of the funnest Rambunxious experiences I've had yet. But we had one day in particular that was above and beyond. And I salute everybody that was there on set, because from my personal experience, I was sweating during the day and freezing at night. We had individuals who injured themselves, which was very unfortunate, but at the same time, kudos to them for carrying on, because we're talking like a 20-hour day here. It was almost like maybe we put people through too much, because I remember having fun during the day when I'm playing Army, and then at night I'm shivering holding the boom pole thinking this is bullshit. But I mean, we're all there for the same purpose, and it was a long, tough day. There wasn't enough cigarettes to go around, but we found a way to make it work. And especially with our lead, with Adam, because he was filming that whole time. I'm really surprised he doesn't hate us. Adam is, I really appreciate him.
Hey, turn that fucking camera on! Turn that fucking camera on!
He was our star performer. He's been in all of our movies, I think, so far, all of our features anyways.
Free citizen.
Ja, Bess,
che portetela parare.
He thought we were kind of a joke the first time we did a movie with him, and then took it a little bit more seriously the second time. And then in the third one, we promoted him to lead, and he gave this movie everything he had.
And I don't know if he really knew what he was letting himself in for, but he was excited because, like me, he's a history buff. He's into World War II stuff. He's a bit of an army brat. His father, I believe, was in the military. And so, he's got that aspect of it.
I mean, he was going through like some really weird stuff in his life. I think in a lot of ways, this movie was kind of an escape for him to come out and do something fun and something that he believed in. And I don't know, he just put everything into this movie.
I don't envy the guy because the grueling brutality that we put him through, it's almost like he damn near stepped in a time machine and went back to Kasserine Pass. Day after day, he's really the one that made this picture what it is. He really is. We were very, very lucky to work with a group of World War II reenactors, the 1st Special Service Force.
First Special Service Force Living History Association.
We would have never made this movie without the fellas from the Special Service Force. Half of it is their enthusiasm. I mean, the fact that, like I said, we had long days on set and they were up for it. They were there. They wanted to be a part of it. And I think a lot of it comes from their appreciation and respect of history. I think we were very lucky to work with some of these gentlemen.
Really, I mean, the movie would have been a fraction of what it is now if it wasn't for everything that they brought to it, just in bodies and time and passion and excitement for the project. And we were really lucky to have them. We had a cut of the movie. We had so much footage, and it was a mess. And I know that there was a rough cut at one point that no one saw that was like 3 hours long. We managed to cut that down to 1:45.
And then we sat down and we watched the movie and we realized this is severely incomplete.
Where it didn't have a story. There was nothing connecting all of the different timelines in the movie. So
we sort of came up with the idea, and this is where the PTSD really came into play.
So that's where we added in the section with Rodich writing his book back home.
So basically, we turned our house into a movie set for a whole weekend, and we just sat back and we shot this thing. This is where we envisioned how Adam is going to deal with this. We realized that this is probably the real prize here, and we ended up chopping a lot of things from our original film, which in some ways might be unfortunate.
You wanna see who I am? You wanna see who I become? I'm nothing! I'm a nothing person! I'm living in hell, there's no way out!
But I think at the end of the day, when we realized what story needs to be told here, this was the necessary part.
And it was funny because we had these two set pieces that were probably some of the best production value we had in the movie. They were authentic period pieces. We had a place called the Ukrainian Village, which is just outside Edmonton, and it's a living history museum. So all this authentic stuff. We had stuff in a wood shop where Rodich was working there, a whole timeline of him working with Roger Rogers, who's the racist guy at the dinner party. So we had to cut that, and then we also had a scene with him going to and from his job in this train. We have a train car here in Edmonton that's super cool. And so we shot on there. We just bought a ticket and framed it up, kind of framed out all the tourists. The whole thing was packed, and we had to get such a tight shot on Adam just to remove everybody else. But that got cut, and you got to cut things sometimes because it to serve the story better, right?
This was a pretty special effects heavy film. Again, Aaron downplayed how much we were supposed to do before we started filming.
But there's some like 300 or 400 visual effects shots in the movie.
This was just a handful of people on their own personal computers.
Compared to the army that you normally see on even movies with half as many visual effects or less than what we have. So it took a lot of time, and that was the bulk of our post-production, was doing these visual effects shots. But I mean, it was crucial to do these shots to make the battle seem as big as possible. For example, we had one scene where we were going to reveal the German army, but we had 12 German uniforms and extras, and we needed 500 people in this shot. So the first Special Service Force, stepped in, and we had them run up and down this section of our location, a dozen times or something like that. We had cars parked out there as well to show where we would be digitally placing tanks, and then we stitched it all together into one 3-second shot.
If you're familiar with the mannequin challenge, we actually did that before the mannequin challenge. And that was primarily what I worked on for the visual effects. And just to do that one scene, it took me as long as it took to do all of the other visual effects in the movie. So
the other big portion of our post-production nightmare was sound design. To build out the battle scenes, because we didn't have a lot of people there, audio was a big part of it. These off-screen explosions, gunshots, and then the battle yelling. We were out of money at this stage, so we found someone who would do it for a very small amount of money. And there's the triangle of, you pick two, you can have it good, fast, or cheap, right? So we wanted good, and it had to be cheap because we didn't have any money. So fast wasn't an option anymore. So I think it took him about 2 years, start to finish, working on 1,000 Yard Stare between other projects to get this one finished. And it was a lot of long nights with me sitting there over his shoulder, just watching him work on it, be there to answer questions. And he lived an hour outside of the city, so I'd drive out there and I'd be there for 12 hours sitting on his futon behind his workstation, and then the sun would be coming up and I would drive back home. So I got through a lot of audiobooks on those drives.
We've always kind of had the mantra of doing everything ourselves.
We've always just kind of taken it upon ourselves to just do things the hard way. Because at the end of the day, if you do it the hard way, you learn so many lessons and you accomplish way more than just doing it the easy way.
You won't hear this.
All right, we good?
Good.
Cool.
Good work, guys.
Yeah, good work. You.
Good work to two of you.